All right, we're gonna call the subcommittee of the Albany County Airport Committee to open. And I'll turn it over to Ray or directly to Passero.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just give a quick lead in and then I'll pass it on. So I've been working with Passero now again regarding the master plan. So there are various components associated with that. They've been working on the environmental portion of it. More recently, we started doing a bit of visioning, if you would, as far as what the airport could look like, as far as improvements, uses on the airport and so forth, and what potential capital projects that they may involve. So based on that back and forth and that input, Passero has now prepared the layout plan update. So this kind of gives, based on the initial discussions of what I would like to see at the airport, they're now putting that to paper and showing those potential locations and to provide and obtain input from the subcommittee as far as that vision is concerned. So with that, I'll pass it over to
Thank you.
Maria.
So we did meet once before, and as a result of that, we came up with the critical aircraft that is down at the FAA seeking approval. There has been some changes at the FAA right now, and unfortunately, the new planner that is in staff, the other planners were affected by the layoffs. So the new planner that's in staff, she's playing catch up. So we still do not have the formal approval from it, but we are moving forward, anticipating that approval will be okay. I have no reason not to believe it wouldn't be. And then this is based off of those operations and the aircraft. The class of aircraft that we're using is the Citation Jet family, just because they operate the most and then the most diversified. So it gave us a better opportunity. So just thinking the Embraer has the most operations, but in talking with the previous planner, he had said I had to suggest you go the Cessna fleet instead. So that's what we've done. The design standards that ultimately lays out what the design standards are going to be for the airport. And that's what we're here today to discuss. Is we started with an inventory. We then did the forecast or the critical aircraft identification. Now we're comparing those two against each other to come up with the facility deficiencies and the alternatives. So today's purpose is to identify what some of those deficiencies we identified were, and then to go over with you some alternatives. So Joey is going to be doing the presentation. We do have another gentleman on the phone with us. His name's Trent. He is our GIS expert and specialist in-house. So what he will do while Joey's speaking and while we're talking about different alternatives is he's going to be turning things on and off. So it's actually a live interaction. So you can ultimately see what it would look like on the whole sheet, because our blow-ups on the presentation are like zeroed in on that specific area. So we might be having to say, well, everything's going to be up there, I think, right?
It should be. I'm just connected.
Okay. Then, you'll just be able to see, and we'll be asking, Trent to do some things. So, again, my name's Lisa. This is Joey. We're the planners for aviation planners. Trent is our GIS individual. And you're ready. And then we'll
Start in a few seconds.
We are going to address, there was a question that came out from a gentleman who was sitting over in this area.
Kippy. Yep, big guy. Kippy's hunting right now, so.
Well, good for him.
Right.
He had asked a question for us to look into during the facility section as to what kind of aircraft can we get out here? Because I think there was concern about larger aircraft coming here, and can the Boeing and the Airbus and the larger, really commercial service airports, can they operate on the runway? So we did look into that in the report. You do not have the report yet because we're still finalizing that based on today's conversation. But the result is the aircraft that can operate on your facility today are not those aircraft. They are the business jet classification of aircraft that you have that are used in the facility today.
Today.
Okay,
Joey, can you get into this?
I believe so.
Joey, would you prefer that you run through the presentation with the graphics on there and then save my web application for the end so we can explore it after?
That works for me.
Okay. If you want me to bring it up at any point, just let me know. It's no problem. I have it up right now.
thanks, Jenny.
Yep.
Can you see my screen?
Who's bringing it up?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I can change my view in there. Maybe.
Here we go. It might be easier if we just do it by hand.
Okay,
Do you want to email it to me?
Sure. Yeah, that'd work. Is it just the same email that I got the invite from?
Kelly.Vaccaro@ColumbiaCountyIndy.gov.
I know, I'm not telling you this, we've been here forever.
Because you just got your new laptop.
Mm.
You're still learning.
Well, it hasn't come up yet, so hold tight.
That's all, and while I'm leading that meeting, then I got on there, there's like, computer up there, I'm like, no. So where's-
And that's what happened this morning when I was trying to get Ron on it.
Yeah,
Usually happens just before a meeting.
boy, I just picked the laptop.
When you're late, when you're late.
That's what happened with Brian this morning. We had a meeting at 8:30 with
Yeah,
Kevin.
and I'm running late, and then of course, I just picked the laptop up last night, and it's not even mine, it's the office one, it's like, okay, I'm like, yeah. He's texting me, I'm like, in a minute. 5 minutes.
Sending you an attachment.
Yeah.
What is it, a PDF or?
Actually, I have a flash drive.
Oh, that's even better.
Did you mention to Kevin about that, contract for the Snyder, or doesn't?
Yeah.
I gotta reach back out to him because I had another question.
Yeah, 'cause I think I emailed you that.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Okay, just want to double check.
We're keeping Trent up.
No, don't
He
do
was up
that.
watching the Bills game.
Yeah.
so while we load it, if it's okay, we can work up a paper copy. I
Yeah,
need.
sure. Yeah.
So agenda for today, and then I'll hand it over to Joey. We are gonna go through the facility findings, the key components there. We're going to look at the different alternatives that we have. Again, we did meet with Ray prior to this meeting, full transparency, in order to get his feedback, his vision, and also to help us tailor down where we want to be looking and developing in order to address facility findings. We're hoping to walk out of here with feedback for a preferred alternative for each of the alternatives we're gonna go through. And that's where Trent's gonna come in, he's gonna start popping things on and off, which ultimately will show you visually, not graphically, because graphically will be what's gonna be printed from us, the preliminary airport layout. So you can get started, everyone's got a paper copy, and then. Okay.
So just to give a little background, the point of this is for working paper number 2. Working paper number 2 will go over the facilities findings, and it'll go over the alternatives that we come up with. We review the facilities to help determine what alternatives we need. Additionally to that, we've talked to Ray in the past to also kind of identify some of the alternatives that we were looking for. So if you want to go to
Just looking for full screen.
It should be at the bottom. Presume PDF, right?
Yeah.
We can work off of that.
Okay.
yeah, it's works. If you could just go to slide 4 for me. Thank you. The facility section reviews the runways, taxiways, airfield lighting, signage, visual aids, electrical, vertical aircraft, general aviation facility requirements, snow removal equipment, de-icing equipment, automobile access and parking, and obstruction removal and the associated land acquisition that could be connected to the obstruction removal. I'm not gonna go through every single little thing that we found throughout the facility section, just because it's pretty comprehensive. I'm just gonna hit the really big targets that we touched on. Starting with the runways, one of the things that we learned within the facility requirements section is that the magnetic definition of the runways is currently off. So within the planning period, the runway alignment will need to be realigned, meaning that the runway will need to be remarked. So that was one of the key findings that we found with the runway. Next, when you go look at the,
Physically,
yes.
on the runway?
Yeah, so you would redo the actual painted stripes on the runway.
Right, so when you take a look at the aerial, and we'll get to that, right now, you'll see, it'll say runway 3, runway 21, so those need to be revised and updated, and then our signage as well.
But you're not talking about moving the pavement.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking at?
It's just, it's
That
signage.
concerned me for a minute too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, any on-site signage, it's any on-runway markings, and then obviously the publications as well. Yeah. No, we're not looking to.
I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, didn't we just do that?
Yeah, so the pavement is up for rehabilitation about 2039, give or take. We could try to get a job if you do a crack seal sometime between now and 2039, remark at that time.
Yeah.
You know, it was shown in the report though that it is in need
That's
of.
needed to be done.
It needs to be done, correct. The other thing that when we did displace runway 21 because of, and I'm sorry,
No, you're good.
because of the safety area
Right.
issue with our neighbor to the north. With that comes what's called declared distances, and that's calculated distances that get reported only for pilots usage, really. There are none. So they should be published, because when we finish the master plan, we'll get those published.
Next, we'll move on to the taxiways. One of the big things that we found during the facility requirements is that taxiway signage does not align with the FAA's advisory circular 5340 18H. Which pretty much just states that each of the taxiways needs its appropriate signage and it needs to be labeled in the FAA's order that they would like it. So the way that would work is the main parallel taxiway would be Alpha, and then each of the connectors would be Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, going down numerically.
And that's actually helpful for anytime we're doing any work onto the airport, because right now none of them are designated. And so when a NOTAM gets published, it's very difficult to identify the area of construction. Yeah, so once that gets done, it makes it a lot easier for those NOTAMs as far as designating the area.
And where are these published?
So they're published for pilots, okay, FAA site. Anytime it's a notice to airmen, so anytime that there's activity on
It's
the
all
site.
electronic at this point.
Oh, it's all electronic. Absolutely, yeah, it's all electronic. Correct.
Yep.
Next, we'll be going to the airfield lighting and signage, along with remarking the taxiways. It needs the appropriate signage to go with it as well. There'll also be, the airport will be eligible for new runway lighting in 2029, same with taxiway lighting in 2034.
Now, those are the years of which you become eligible by the handbook.
Mhm.
As you know, from a funding perspective,
Yeah, it's not saying we have to do those, because obviously
When we can apply.
taxiway, we just replace
It's
those
the
with
earliest
LEDs.
use of that.
But in case we wanted to do anything in the future regarding those, from a funding standpoint, it would be eligible in 2032 if we want, or 2034, my apologies, if we want to.
And if those, is there a maximum time frame so they become available there? Is there a maximum time frame if you were applying for other funding that they say this has to be done by, or?
It becomes more of a maintenance issue then.
Okay.
You know, if you're having difficulty finding parts and things like that, then obviously you're beyond your eligibility period, your minimum period. So then it'll be like, oh, look, we really can't keep pushing this forward because we're having difficulty. So it's a justification, but at minimum, this helps us in the next section of the report outline what the capital plan is gonna look like.
Okay.
And that's the earliest that we can start saying to the FAA, we need to start applying for that.
Right.
Now, when we say, okay, it's eligible for that, that's eligible for it to be reconstructed,
Right.
funded for reconstruction. Our FAA works with something called gap years. So that means that actually 2 years before 2034 and 2032, we'd be asking for a redesign. And at that point, we're gonna be, talking with Ray and saying, what kind of maintenance issues you're having and things of that nature, because we're coming up against that.
Moving on to the visual aids. Visual aids can include things such as the wind cone, pappies, reels. So after looking at things of that nature, some of the recommendations that we came up with were removing the trees affecting the primary wind cone. I don't know if you've noticed it, but the wind kind of gets skewed when it comes to hitting that wind cone just due to the trees surrounding it. Additionally, it would be replacing supplemental wind cones that may be aging and reaching the end of their useful life.
So those are the orange, they're used for pilot purposes to tell them where the winds are. FAA has one for this airport station midfield, one on each end as a supplemental. So anytime that those become too degraded and they're not actually reflecting, then they should be replaced. Those are typically treated as a maintenance item.
Okay.
Additionally, we also looked at replacing the PACI in 2032/2033. That's when it would be eligible. Like Lisa previously mentioned, just because it's eligible doesn't mean it needs to be replaced. And then lastly, we had the removal of the existing AWAS and installation of a new AWAS 3PT, which is currently in the process as we speak.
So just to let folks know, so PAPI, so that's just an acronym, and what that does is that actually provides the pilots as they're coming into each runway landing. It provides them the glide slope, whether they're again too low on the glide slope, too high on the glide slope, or actually within the glide slope itself. So it's a visual aid, and that's at each end.
That's equipment that's in their planes.
No, that's equipment that's on the airport side. Yeah, we actually have that in our airport.
This is a bunch of, if you're coming down now, you see those bright.
You'll see
red
four red lights when you're traveling south on Route 9H.
Okay.
Those are the PAPI, and the red means that you're too low.
Yep.
Obviously, if you're in your car and you see four red lights.
Yeah.
But again, if you're on the glide slope, it would be two white, 2 red. If you're above the glide slope, then all four would be white. So as you start getting onto your glide slope, it goes from all white
Yep.
down to 3, then to 2, and 2, and that means you're on your glide slope. If you continue to drop below, then you pick up 3 red.
Important
and 4 red.
information for me to know. In case I ever have to land there.
That's right.
Just in case, just in case.
We also started looking into electrical vertical aircraft. As you all know, it's kind of becoming more prevalent within aviation. So we also looked into what would be required for that to come to Columbia County. So we were looking at the development of cargo passenger eVTOL facilities, construction of associated eVTOL landing pad and apron, coordinate with National Grid to assess the power required to support these, and then implement whatever National Grid recommends.
So
And then
just to correct on that, we were talking to somebody about coming in for that.
Yeah, so we were talking with Beta, a company out of Vermont that was very interested in actually entered into an agreement with them
Right,
to actually
yeah.
do an installation as far as charging location and so forth. And, they were working with National Grid as far as obtaining.
So I was gonna ask you, was it National? I thought it was NICEAG.
Or NICEAG, my apologies,
Yeah,
NICEAG.
so
My
on
apologies.
here, you've got National Grid, but I think
It is,
NICEAG
my
is
apologies, it
the
is nice.
power company that.
In that area, it is nice. And we had been talking with NICEAG.
Okay,
And when you take a look at one of the options, when we get to that point, I can at least give you an update.
yeah, okay.
Because the general area that we were initially looking at is along the area where that easement is going to be.
Okay, and that company that we had an agreement with, are they done and gone for good now?
No,
or-
they're not gone, but,
They're
their
done in
rollout period is dragging on dramatically.
Right.
And that's not only for us, that's just part of their programming. Yeah, it's just dragging out.
But the most important thing for this plan is that we would be talking to NICEAG, I think.
Correct.
The important part in this plan, this was included because it's an evolving technology. You know,
Yeah, right.
when we scoped and said, let's make sure we include this. Beta already has the manufacturing facility built,
Mhm.
and they are already producing up in Vermont. They keep expanding their network with charging stations. What is in New York, especially what's holding them up, is the utility company.
Mhm.
Because they need to make sure that the utility company can provide them the
Right.
service that they need. And they probably came to you with an agreement of, well, we want to put an aircraft charging station in exchange, we're going to give you
Correct.
Right.
an auto
An auto
charging
charger,
station.
exactly.
So again, we're gonna go through the alternative that we came up with, which we thought made the most sense. But again, up to interpretation. It has not been approved yet in order to get these aircraft into the National Airspace System yet. They just came out with pilot guidance.
Correct.
They have not come out with airspace guidance yet. So we're still, even though everyone's saying 2026, 2027, I think we're probably looking closer to 29, 30.
Mhm.
But it is coming.
It was a big ask though in power consumption, I remember that.
It's huge, and you definitely need three-phase power. which-
That's a fairly new NICEAG line there. I wasn't surprised if it could accommodate it there, but I don't know what their
Yeah, and what
overall power is.
And in speaking to Beta, what they wanted to do is, and they were doing it on purpose as part of their overall business plan, is they wanted to try to make sure that they were one of the first innovators to go to these airports to basically
Sure,
secure
yeah,
their
yeah.
location
That's why they had it.
before anybody
Right.
else came into the area.
Yeah.
So,
So while we're on the subject, my economic development hat on, Ghent has been asked by a couple companies about potential of, battery storage. So popular right now, I'm sure you guys are aware that they're trying to store some of this energy to help moderate it. Location that was ideal for them was not ideal for Ghent residents, but it's within a mile of that airport.
okay.
There's money
Mhm.
to be made from
Sure. From the
Would
storage
would
facility.
that, I don't know how welcome it would be in that area either, but, one of my thoughts is we have certainly multi-fuel suppressant systems already, things like that, so it's not really out of our realm,
Mhm.
but something for maybe be thought about.
Yeah, definitely something for consideration, but in the same instance, I know one of the things that we had collectively looked at and what was important to the committee as a whole is, the uses on that airport and try to use them to the best extent practical, including job creation, right? So we are somewhat limited, as we've discussed in the past, the fact of all the wetlands and environmental constraints that we have at the airport. So what we have been focusing on is trying to utilize those areas for future development that could bring in businesses
To go along with the airport.
that go along with airport use or aviation use. And hopefully that means bringing in revenue, but then as importantly, bringing in jobs as well. Because unfortunately with the battery, although there is money, no question on
Right,
revenue,
one time,
once it's constructed, there's
Right.
there's no,
just a pilot of some sort,
yeah,
plan, not.
yeah, and you're not bringing
use
in
that
additional
pilot
jobs.
fund on the airport, but.
Yeah, and you're not bringing in jobs, so
Well, and she,
not saying that we wouldn't look at that long term,
some
but I
of the
just,
wind got on my sail when, we're talking a Cessna program instead of some kind of mid-range bus.
well, but when we're looking at Cessna, again, Cessna doesn't necessarily mean that it's just, when you think of Cessna, you're thinking of a single engine aircraft for the most
Thinking
part.
that,
Yeah, but no, they
and those are
have,
business
they have
jets.
business jets. And that's, when we're saying, looking at the Cessna line, the reason that Pastor is looking at that Cessna line is the availability and variations of those business aircraft are much greater than some of the other manufacturers, okay, from a size standpoint.
so that'll go good with the chip plan in the, Commerce Park. Good.
Perfect.
I'm going with that.
I welcome that, absolutely.
So just to go back to your battery storage for a minute, obviously thermal runaway is a huge concern.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, scrap, it's out there.
But they are looking, again, yes, thermal runaway is a huge concern, but they are looking at different variations where they're now, sodium technology has become huge regarding battery storage. And so,
Yeah, it depends on what your composition is going to be, but
but yeah, initially and early on, everybody was going lithium, and runaway was a huge issue. And you're seeing more and more, not to get off topic, but you're seeing more and more of those battery storage companies looking at alternative types of batteries, and they're looking at a sodium ion type. So,
Yeah, I get lots of, data there, dropped off, because over on just, north of there, that area a little bit, just an ideal spot where everything together already.
Additionally, with the eVTOL, there would have to be operational procedures for the airport to incorporate these eVTOL aircraft that were NOTAMs or publications within the chart supplement, just to denote that there are eVTOL operations conducted.
Do you need me on the next screen?
Yes, please. Thank you. Additionally, we looked at the general aviation facility requirements. Although a forecast wasn't required for this master plan, we did a very high level forecast just to determine what type of general aviation facility would be needed in the near future. Additionally, we talked with Ray. So it was determined that T hangars were needed, and same with bulk hangars, additional aprons for these T hangars, Jet A tanks, and minor fuel tank modifications needed for sustainable aviation fuels, which are also coming in the future. The sustainable aviation fuels, it's still kind of in the air as to what modifications would be needed. All the guidance provided right now just says that it would be very minor, but that's yet to come.
I just want to clarify for those who are not aviation folks. T hangars are the smaller, just let's call it condominium type of facilities where you have multiple tenants in one hangar. Usually they can be one-sided or they can be back to back, tail to tail. And that's called nested. A bulk hangar is just that. It's a bigger hangar, and that's where these larger jets would probably want to go. So just wanted to differentiate those two.
Thank you. And when we're talking about the fuel issues, so currently general aviation is using 100 low lead. It still contains lead, and they're trying to get away from that. And so there has been a program about looking at alternative fuel supplies that still work for that general aviation, aging general aviation piston aircraft. Because again, the piston aircraft requires or needs that lead currently. So they're trying to develop these alternative fuels to look towards the future.
Next, we looked at
Oh, race cars and get fuel. Good old days.
we also looked at the snow removal equipment. And for this, it was determined that a dedicated snow removal building to house the equipment was a good alternative and replacing existing snow removal equipment. Currently, the environmental assessment that is ongoing looked at the location for a new snow removal equipment building that is in the works of getting approved by the FAA.
Which needs to go back to
Yes.
Right. We also looked at de-icing equipment. So aircraft will use this de-icing equipment before flights to make sure that they don't sustain ice during flight. Ice on aircraft can be detrimental, so this is great equipment to have. And some of the associated things that we determined were a dedicated de-icing pad on aircraft or on airport property and de-icing equipment to go along with that.
Now, that could be in lieu of having heated hangars. So if we were just to build hangars, but they weren't heated and aircraft just used it to store their hangar, but it's a winter condition or it's a cold condition, especially when they get to altitude, then they would want to be de-iced. However, if you end up having a heated hangar,
Don't need to.
you don't necessarily need the de-icing. I understand it's pretty much how it works right now. But of course, heating a hangar, we can ask the architect in the bathroom of the room. You know, adds cost. So
Yeah, and in some instances, you do have aircraft that may be coming in, staying overnight, and there's not hangar space, which is currently one of the issues. And so there is that potential for icing to take place, and so de-icing needs to occur prior to that aircraft taking off from the facility. And one of the purposes of the de-icing pad, again, from an environmental standpoint, understanding how sensitive the environment is around the area, as far as the airport with all of the wetlands and so forth, that is one of the things that we're looking at, is making sure that we're protecting the environment as well.
So my question on that is, this asks for appropriate drainage for that area. Is that drainage that would be created on site in a special leach field, or is that connected to our sewer system or something?
it can be either or, depending on what you ultimately end up doing. I will admit, this still has to be vetted a little further
Okay, yeah.
with the engineers.
Read that and I wonder what appropriate mean.
We haven't gotten.
Yeah, the first thing you need to do is contain it, right?
Sure,
And that's the
yeah.
purpose for the
Right.
pad, because again, the pad actually collects it and we're
Yep.
containing it, and then we have to deal with the treatment.
But then like garages, you can't just, what do you do? with
Once you contain
it?
it.
Right, now you're in
it's-
trouble, because
Now
now
it's a
you,
point source.
now you've captured it. So
Correct.
I don't know what the appropriate was, but
So it could go into, get separated and then go into your sewer system.
wastewater treatment.
And then it has to go to the sewer treatment plant, or it could be collected and then you have somebody who comes in, depending on the quantity. My understanding, because we've dealt with this at a different airport, my understanding is some sewer treatment plants would love it because they'll take it during the off hour,
Mhm.
because you actually need
They need the water, yeah.
the bad
Yeah.
bio in order to help break down all the goodies.
Too much information.
Yeah.
Kelly, so that's enough. Move on. No, I just didn't know how extensive that was.
We also looked at the automobile access and parking. Currently, the existing parking area is anticipated to be rehabilitated in 2026. And we also recommended that roadways be rehabilitated as needed. For the fence, we recommended that it be replaced as needed till the end of its useful life.
Most we just did most of it.
Yeah. Again, this is a 20-year
Sure,
outlook
yeah, no,
document.
I get it. I just couldn't remember if there was a section that we didn't do, or did we do it all?
No, because there never used to be one on the northern end.
Right.
Yeah, and then they put it, then.
Yeah, I mean, all the rest of it got replaced there.
Yeah.
That was after that wildlife study and all that
Correct.
stuff. Yeah.
Lastly, we looked at the structure removal and the associated land acquisition. So the big thing with the obstruction removal is we wanted to remove obstructions that are in the approach and departure surfaces at the airport. Some of these projects would require control over the lands, either through easement or through purchase. And that control would allow us to remove the obstructions and maintain them, keeping them lowered or lit or whatever is associated with that. We also determined that the easement over the runway 21N needed to be updated, or if it was possible to be purchased, i.e. the land.
And we have a long-standing history with it.
Yeah, we don't understand that.
Long-
We don't have to repeat that, but yes, you're right, we need to work on that.
Yeah, and it continues to be an issue, right?
Right, yeah, it ain't going away.
It continues to be an issue. It's an
Someday
issue-
it will.
It's been an issue for a while now, and it continues to be an issue.
So are there any questions ultimately about what we covered for the facilities? Because based on that, then we'll move into the alternative.
I'm good, Craig, you got it.
I'm good.
Yep.
So we use those facilities to determine, the alternatives. Again, we also talked with Ray, to go over what he felt as if, would be good alternatives. So, each of the alternatives will have a no-build alternative. It's used as a baseline to set the standard as to what would happen if nothing were done. We also determined that T-hangers and or shade hangers would be an alternative, box hangers, a jet fuel farm, EV tool development, de-icing pad, and the relocation of the rotating beacon.
Now, with this, if it would be okay, can we bring Trent back on the screen? And if everybody just doesn't mind going by the paper copies instead?
So I'm gonna stop sharing right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, gonna bring this up.
Hold on 1 second, Trent.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
I just love the screen.
And we can see yours. And could you blow it up or make
I
it
don't
bigger?
know if I can because he's sharing.
No, no, I'm asking
Oh,
Trent.
Oh.
Can you like zoom in a little?
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't sure if she was still working through her end
Yeah,
of things.
go ahead. There's something.
There you go.
We see yours. So
Okay,
can you just explain to everybody what you're showing us before we start getting into all the alternatives? Just
Yeah.
overall.
absolutely. So this is a web application I prepared in ArcGIS Online. Essentially what it is I've uploaded all the alternatives that we have drawn in for the master plan online to be able to represent this in a more interactive map. Because while the static maps are really nice to be able to look through in your hand and it's good to have them, it's cool to be able to see the environmental layers and overlay them and turn them on and off as need be. So the nice part about this is we can actually actively edit things in real time as well. So if everyone here made a suggestion about the building here, one of these buildings, I can click on this and make adjustments to it as need be. Another thing we can do is we can put things, attributes about its information in here as well. So that's ultimately what this is. So I'll pan and move through this and flip on and off layers as need be. I've included things such as the DEC's regulatory wetlands, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife's wetland system, and wetlands that have been delineated as well in the nearby area, as well as, like I said, everything from the alternatives. So with that, whatever you guys let me know, I'll just move around the map and flip things on and off as you guys request.
Sure. Can you just zoom down to the bottom of towards the runway 3 end?
Yeah.
So this big red circle that we have here, the weather observation station is going to be relocated in this area. That is a critical zone that is supposed to be clear of objects over a certain height. So you'll start seeing when we get into some of the alternatives why they're actually outside of that and why some of them are actually inside of it. So I just wanted to point that out. So Trent, we're gonna start with the T hangers. So could you just turn everything else off except the T hangers?
Yes, I can flip all the other layers off. They're tied to the proposed structures, so I have to leave the other structures on as well, though.
What's the yellow indicate?
Yeah, turn the yellow off. We're confusing
Okay. Yeah, no, it's okay.
the future airspace.
Okay.
Trent, could you go to the T hangers to the north?
Oh, to the north. Yeah, absolutely.
So for the T hanger alternative, we reviewed 3 alternatives. The first was the no build. The second was This,
So no build is just maintaining the white that you see in the picture today.
So that's the existing set of T hangers that we currently.
The one to the south of that right now is under environmental review at the FAA.
We have ties there though right now, right, where those other hangars are proposed. Currently, there's no tie downs.
No, the tie downs are actually located.
Right
there.
You see the yellows?
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, so, if I may. So this is the existing
Yep.
location as far as the T hanger, so all of our tie downs are along the runway here,
Oh,
and we
okay.
actually have more to the south as well. And just so everyone is aware, this is our current property line, but the county does own, so everything inside of this area is actually
Okay.
county-owned fenced, but it's also identified as airport. The county also owns this piece here, but it is not designated as airport property.
That's the 5 acres we got.
That is 5 acres that the county purchased several years ago. And so the county has the option of how it wants to utilize that space. Whether it be specifically for airport use, or maybe it provides the opportunity of another non-aeronautical use adjacent to it. So you can see with the T hanger, we wanted to be able to utilize a portion of it just from an asphalt
Yep.
and apron standpoint.
And you're having another driveway into that there, or?
We would need another driveway if we wanted to, the next section, bulk hangers. So those boxes there, if we want to put anything there, we would need some sort of roadway access
Okay,
to get those. So we would need to do a subdivision remap and
Yeah.
move the property line, et cetera, et cetera. Again, this was conversation, Ray, which is like, we own both of those properties.
right.
During your analysis, if we need to move the property line, we possibly could. So this is just an idea of
We control it all.
how it works. The idea here is trying to keep, we're focusing just on the rectangles, not the squares. Keep, trying to keep all general aviation together, from a hangar perspective, as opposed to the larger business jets, the FBO, the charters, which are more midfield. So this was an option to keep all the general aviation closer together. So we have 3 alternatives. I'll hand it back to you.
yeah, so this was the second alternative. So as Lisa had previously stated, the orange T hangers right below the white ones, those are incorporated right now in the environmental assessment that's under review. And this alternative would include the ones above the white box.
So these are in review. Those would be new.
And then our third alternative would be down to the south. Trent, would you pan down to the south, please? They would be adjacent to the cul-de-sac, and they would connect directly into runway 3 and taxiway. Do you want to add anything else, Lisa?
Currently,
Is that-
does that museum have access to our airport?
Yes, it does.
How's that?
Good question. We've had multiple discussions regarding why, how, I don't know, but they have access directly onto our taxiway.
Is there a gate there? Or? Wow.
They're there for aviation purposes is what we're told.
Well, understood, but it is not owned and controlled by the county. So that
No, I get it.
parcel is a separate parcel that is privately owned, not part of the county. However, so normally speaking, you would have some sort of a gate. So that way the county has full control of the airport property in and of itself, security wise and so forth. Now, there is a gate that goes around that area, okay, around their property line. But
They're inside.
from their hangar space, from the building, there's no gate between there and the taxiway. So,
Do they ever just come and go?
all the
They
time,
do all the time.
all the time. Yeah, so I don't know how that took place. And there's not much of a record of documentation of how it transpired. So I don't have good answers for you there, unfortunately.
So That's never been an issue with,
FAA hasn't brought it up, not that I know of, at least. They haven't.
I would think safety and security.
But even, I was thinking now that you mentioned it, because we were there with Ralph just this summer. Yeah, just this summer while we were doing the taxiway lighting.
Yeah.
And it never raised the red flag, or he never mentioned it, or.
I know it's been talked about over the years, but
We don't have property lines out. in the-
Well, understood, right, I mean, but on the surface, it didn't raise a red flag. Yeah, agreed.
Anticipated during the master plan.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, once it's brought up with the master plan, I'm sure that, yeah, I'm sure everyone will be looking at it at that point.
Next, we looked at the box hanger locations. The first location we looked at was up to the north. Trent, if you could pan back up to the north, near the T hangers, like Lisa had previously pointed out. For this location, we determined that there would need to be access in, off Route 9H, and then there would be associated parking in between each of the box hangers. These box hangers would measure, approximately 60 by 60. That was the first location. And then the second location that we came up with was down to the south, near the Aviation Museum, actually on the taxiway that connects into the Aviation Museum. For this alternative to come to fruition, there would have to be an access road that would come off and through his property, either through easement or through property purchase, just to allow tenants to access those box hangers. Or if there was another way for them to park, maybe in a cul-de-sac or something else, and there be a footpath, but that had its own, associated, I guess, problems.
There's also wetlands that impacts
Yes,
the ditch that we need to cross.
yes. And I think Trent's turning on the layers now. You can see the wetlands are depicted in green and purple. So right now we have it, so it's kind of next to the wetlands, but not impacting any of them.
So a question, if we can zoom out of that a little bit, just to show that field to the north, there's a little bit of a field to the north, yeah, that's perfect.
Can you turn on the critical area, that big round circle?
Sure.
Yeah, no, because again, when you drive up onto the site, there is, and again, when you're looking at even an aerial, as you see, there's a big field that's been mowed and maintained by the county, and it was always thought that potentially that could be an area for us to develop. But as this environmental review and as this master plan has been progressing, you can see that there is wetlands that have been mapped that unfortunately take up a good portion of that field.
And you also have this
And-
critical area.
And yeah,
around-
and then on top of that was the introduction of the critical area as well.
Is it wet?
It is wet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they have stuff marked and.
No, yeah, so our folks, my understanding is that in the past, they buried a tractor there once or twice, and when they're mowing and,
they didn't leave it there though.
they didn't leave it. No, they didn't leave it. They pulled it out, but, you know, they make a point of trying to hit that particular area as well as others during drier periods,
Mhm.
because it's wet. Okay, well, that's unfortunate.
That big red circle.
Well, we were aware of the big red circle, and I knew the wetlands generally in that area, but it's,
When you map
Bigger
them.
than you thought.
yeah, exactly, more of an impact than I was hoping, let me put it that way, yeah.
So are you showing some too that comes in off of the other side? That look more interesting. Maybe to extend 20 out there. Was that an idea?
Yeah, so we'll get to
Yeah.
that, but yeah, so,
That seemed more reasonable. Maybe
Yeah.
not.
well, again, I want to try to maximize as much as we possibly could as far as the
Yeah.
development portion, so, like I said, it's It'll be good.
I'm
green
assuming
space.
we're not gonna get all the dreams we get. so
No,
I
no,
don't
great,
think
right.
it's-
It'll be good, it'll be good, green space.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
The third location that we identified was down to the southeast, which I believe is Kitschy Farms area. There we have two 80 by 80 bulk hangers and three 120 by 120 bulk hangers, and the associated parking that would go along with it.
This eliminates the cul-de-sac. It does require another, I believe it requires another line, subdivision realignment as well.
I'm sorry, the bulk hangers were how large?
The bulk hangers were 120 by 120, and then the two on top were 80 by 80.
And those can change. This was just to give you an idea, because obviously caliber cost.
Sure.
You know, but I was just on a phone call with another client, and they're like, 60 by 60 doesn't work for me, 80 by 80 doesn't work for me, it has to be at least 120 by 120.
Right.
You know, because the business jets seem to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, so if your direction to us is, we like this one, but we really want to see how many 120 by 120s we can get in here. If you're asking, because I'm just going to preempt, the space between the buildings is to meet NFPA code, National Fire Protection Agency. Otherwise, if we put them all together, then we get into big things with sprinklers. It's not to say that we don't need sprinklers on here. That's the architect question. But, you know, and this is, the water tower is on this side of the facility as well. So, just trying to think what makes sense. Also, if you were to get a big, the Hudson Valley is in need of hangars
Mhm.
for business jets.
Right.
That's a fact. There are a couple of organizations out there who they want to come in, they want to invest, and they want to build big hangars on your airport. This might be an opportunity for you to attract somebody like that. And this side, keeping them completely
Right.
opposite,
Right.
separate from everybody else. And then,
Where's the communication gonna come from if that's in play? People are gonna drive around and check in and out.
No, it would, so in that instance, it could be a new FBO, okay? Or it's just, to me, this seems to be more the prime location, because it's separate from the GA traffic, it's separate from the existing FBO. You get not a carrier, but you get a private entity that wants to invest on business jets.
That's what I was thinking.
It's a more private,
I was gonna say, I like that side
it's
of
a
it.
private location for them to be able to bring clientele in and out without any fanfare. So to me, this seems to be more of a prime location for a much larger area development, whether it's multiple boat hangars or, again, looking at the various sizes. So a question I have for the design team as a whole, what are you seeing trend-wise as far as the size of these boat hangars, if it was business, a business jet? I mean, it's a 120 by 120, which is about 14,000 square feet. I think that's what we have as our southerly most unit right now. Is that realistic, or does it make sense to look at something, a fewer larger units?
Well, I mean, it really depends, because I would say between 90 and 110 foot wingspan is kind of your larger corporate ones. So it depends on how many you want to fit in there. So yeah, 100 by 100, you're not going to get the largest ones, and you're going to get one of the fairly large ones. So if you want to pack multiple ones in there, like we're designing a couple right now, they're 40,000 square feet, but it's for 3 G650s and 2 750s, I think, would fit into that single hangar.
I think those
So it
are,
really depends on what your fleet is. If the county, I don't know if the county would actually own it, but if they wanted to rent to multiple tenants or just one specific tenant.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, even if we created, one of my goals, and we've talked about it, is, making things shovel ready, if you would. So identifying the leasable area and then seeing what a potential entity may want to build in that specific spot. So I was wondering, are you finding that these developers, when they're coming in, are they building it for a single aircraft, which is more in line with what you're seeing here? Or are they looking at larger bulk hangars where they're actually able to pack multiple aircraft into a single unit.
From what I've been seeing, it's multiple, because the more you can fit in, the
More economically, and it's more.
one space you're eating for multiple aircraft. you can have.
Right. So instead of having multiple entities or multiple lease locations, maybe we reduce the number of lease locations and increase the size of those areas so that way they can build those larger hangars.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is also like oversight, like the services that that entity is providing. Like, say the county owned the building and they run into 3 people, the logistics of getting aircraft in without damage.
Right, correct.
As opposed to staff on hand that are actually, you know, like Richmore does move things around.
Yeah, I mean, I would anticipate that we would be looking at land leases more than anything else, you know, rather than the county owning and operating the building and the aircraft, excuse me, and then moving aircraft around and so forth. I would be looking, I believe, unless the. The fact that, you know, the county.
When am I retiring?
The county would put out a land lease and allow the
Right.
developer to come in and build what they want for their needs.
Now, you brought up before on that 5-acre parcel out on 9H side that was outside of the airport.
Try to go to the north, please.
No, but I just wanted to use, is this right now existing outside?
Yeah, you mentioned this needed a
So part,
line adjustment too.
yeah, so the majority of it, to the north of the cul-de-sac is all located within the airport.
Okay, so that wouldn't have been
Yeah, this-
potential.
Yeah, it's the southerly part. Yeah, it's the
Alright.
southerly part as we're heading towards the kitchen, the old kitchen
Yep.
barn
Is
basically.
that where those wells are? That everybody wants?
No,
No, no.
those wells are further to the south. Yeah, those wells are much further to the south there.
But that's all.
This actually,
It's just-
if you look at, the little white, there's a dirt roadway right there.
Yep,
That's actually where the sewer
Okay.
plant used to be and now our
Okay,
pump
yeah,
station is.
right.
okay.
But if you drive out in that entire area, you'll see the field that's there. And our thought was having the cul-de-sac in that area right now is, we understand why the cul-de-sac was put there because again, it used to be a through road and so a cul-de-sac needed to be
Right.
developed so that way traffic and emergency vehicles could be turned around. But if we do something a little different and either move that, you know, get rid of the cul-de-sac, reconfigure it, there's a lot of developable land.
Right.
And again, I can tell you, I did meet with an investor that had initially identified interest in the airport as far as developing a bulk hangar. They were looking to potentially partner together with Richmore. Of the various locations that we generally said, yeah, we could potentially put a bulk hangar here, this was the preferred spot because they liked the fact that it was away from the rest of the
Yeah,
operation.
no, I can see that being
I
attractive.
didn't know if it would be a plus or a minus, so.
Yeah.
So we didn't go too,
Good spot.
I mean, there's still a lot of developable land, as you can
Right.
tell, but we didn't go too far further south because trying to minimize your wetland impact. And
Right.
we all know that that's gonna cost a lot of money, so, but if you want us to look at other alternatives specific to, can we get more development in this area? You know, while still trying to minimize the wetland impact, we can do that.
Yeah, I think because I like what you've done and I just, when we're looking at a bulk hangar, I'm wondering at 14,000, although it seems big, when we're talking aircraft hangars, it really isn't. And I know what we were looking at previously was the 30,000 square foot. So whether it makes sense to look at, instead of having the 3 14-foot or 14,000, maybe we look at 2 30,000 in that area.
So once we start going bigger, we go taller, we
Right.
have to go further away from the runway. So if you want us to look at 30,000, see what we can fit, how we can configure it, we can certainly do that.
I think I would. Because if you're saying that, again, that's going to allow multiple aircraft, a larger business aircraft to be stored. That seemed to be even for when Richmond was looking at what they wanted to do, kind of the sweet spot, if you would. So I tend to think that would, understand that if there's an impact on the overall land impact, you know, like you say, having to come further away from the airport or from the runway and so forth, but I would tend to think maybe looking at a pair of 30,000
Okay.
square footers there And then again, seeing if we can still have some of the smaller bulk hangers, because again, even with the smaller bulk hangers, you can still do potentially a small business out of one of those bulk hangers as well. Again, whether that be an aviation related as it pertains to avionics or something like that, because I know there are not enough avionics shops within the Hudson Valley either.
Steve, if we're at 30 by 30,000 square feet, will automatically say fire protection, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's two components to it. One is the size of the building, and the second is the amount of fuel to fuel the stored. And typically you have to stay in the 12 to 14 range for the size. And,
To avoid that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then it comes down to the size of the tanks, fuel tanks in the planes. And I'm not positive if that could be something that is a policy, that we will, like there are certain things in the building code that you can say, we take responsibility, we will have no more than 49 persons in this room, so we don't need to say that.
I think Matt, you came across that in the past, and they basically said it's not a waivable thing.
That was one specific municipality.
Can you, Frank, can you zoom out just a hair, if you don't
Yeah.
mind? So, perfect, right there. So to that end, and again, I recognize the concern, just so everybody's aware of both as far as the committee, but also I know Matt and Zach and I have talked in the past. So currently we are we're in the midst of the design of actually installing a water storage tank up in this area of the property. And so that's going to be a 400,000 gallon water storage tank to feed the entire Commerce Park. That's going to include a transmission line that comes down into this intersection. So, and there's also sewer in that general proximity as well. So running and extending water from that point out to these locations to provide that fire protection becomes achievable versus the opposite side of the airport where it becomes more problematic. So that's why with the larger hangars,
That was a question. Is the fire suppression all water or is it foam or some other
So
inside the team?
former types of foam have kind of been outlawed.
Yeah.
There are clean foams, there are other clean agents, there is a water-based system. It kind of depends on the types of aircraft and again, the amount of fuel that's.
And then you would say if it's below a certain square footage you want to view, then you avoid that altogether. So I don't know economically, I get what we're trying to attract, but yeah. Is it easier to find a developer with a lot of money and a bigger project, or smaller,
Right, yeah,
a couple
yeah.
smaller ones,
Right.
where they might put a smaller.
well, I guess my point is if we're going to go for a larger hangar, and by all means, this is an opinion, not a statement, I would tend to think that this would be the location.
Oh, the location I like,
So,
yes. I'm
so
just
if we're planning,
struggling
so I think
for,
we should plan for the larger ones.
and then if you find a developer that wants a smaller one,
Right.
they can do that too. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're more or less marketing leasable space.
That's right, yeah.
We have 5 acres available.
Right.
For whatever.
You could
need,
do this size
friends,
building.
whatever you can pack in there. Oh, you want 1 acre? Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. You want to tie their hands to anything.
So I would plan for the more complicated,
Sure.
and then see what the market brings us. But at least potentially we would have the ability of building those larger hangars.
Okay, yeah, I get that idea. But yeah, I like this location better than,
Yeah, so to me, I would say, let's look at a couple of larger hangars.
Okay.
Let's use that 30,000 mark. And see what you come up with as far as that goes. I mean, I recognize that it'll have to be reconfigured and so forth,
That's
but
fine.
now is the time to really take a look at that.
Okay, so we're eliminating any of the other, the other bulk areas, the one by the museum or up at the other area, or we're not ready to do that yet?
I don't know if I'm ready to do that. I would keep those where they are.
Okay,
Um,
this is number one.
I would, yeah.
Okay.
And what does it take for us to transfer? We have to transfer some of the Kitchen Farm land into the airport area? Is that just, is there an FAA process or then is our FAA land has to actually encompass all of that land or?
Some of it.
Or would it be smarter to leave it out of there or leave the right away like the museum has?
Well, we may not be able to do that with the
So-
FAA.
So that's technically considered a through the fence operation. If you're collecting fair market value from a commercial standpoint, it's okay. But if you're not collecting fair market value, it's a no-no.
That's the issue with the.
Yep.
With the, museum, because they have basically a through the fence operation, and we are not, we as the county are not being compensated. As the airport operator, we are not being compensated for that.
I thought funding
We need a
wise,
toll collector.
isn't it better if it's all part of the airport? If there was two hangars there, even if we were leasing into an outside agency, don't we want them to be part of the airport?
Yes,
Land.
because then, yeah, because so for instance, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the apron areas, again, when it comes time for
Right.
paving and so forth, that would be eligible for funding as far as that goes. So that's one of the reasons of getting those portions of it into the airport property.
So I mean, it's just a matter of us doing a subdivision to move some of that land into
I'm sure
there.
since we're dealing with the FAA, it's not.
That's my point. I can understand how we can do it in town, but county, but.
From a county perspective, we'll do it, and then we just need to go to the town and we need to, because you're not doing, it's not a land purchase, it's just a land transfer.
Right.
So it's more of us just letting them know,
We would be expanding our FAA footprint kind
Yeah.
of, so.
here's the survey, it's done by a surveyor, here's the deed that it was recorded in the county's records. I'm in the process of doing this right now.
There's not really
Another
specific
airport
things
area
from
lease
FAA on
land.
No,
how
it's more of a procedural.
how we
other than
expand that area. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
But what we would have to do, obviously, from a local standpoint is, so the town of Ghent
Yeah,
has the airport as its own specific zone
that's true.
in its
Yeah.
zoning code. So if we
Just
expand
within that
upon that,
footprint, yeah.
we would have to have those discussions with the town to modify that zone to incorporate that, which is
Who
that,
did that, Craig?
yeah, and that occurs at the.
Yeah,
that
no,
occurs-
okay, I didn't talk about that either, but.
Yeah, that occurs at the town board level.
I didn't know from FAA if there was a struggle with trying to get the FAA footprint enlarged.
I think it's more procedural in this case.
Okay.
It's more of a struggle to release lands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can picture that.
Yeah, increasing is usually the
Yeah.
lighter lift. It's
Right.
the other direction that becomes more problematic. So it's more procedural than anything. And I think the more important item is
The zoning, yeah.
the zoning item, correct? The way that it is dealt with at the local level.
Okay.
The next alternative that we looked at was for the Jet A tank.
Oh, can we go back a second?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 60 by 60 hangars. Do you think those are beneficial? And the only reason I'm asking is because, Sean, can you go to the north, please?
Yep.
These 60 by 60s where we would need an access road off of 9H.
Yeah.
The largest we can get is 60 by 60 in clear airspace. Anything bigger than that, I don't have room for.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of those in that particular area, those bulk
Okay.
hangars there. And I'm just trying to think of, there's a small hangar that is a aviation shop down in Dutchess County. I'm trying to remember what the runway it's sitting off of. I'm trying to, I don't know.
Citation Drive, is it Aero Mechanics one maybe?
That the little green building?
Yeah.
Citation Drive.
Actually, it's the one next, now that I think about it, it's the one that's next to their fire apparatus building.
There's a small hangar. I thought those were all T.
No, there's a private operation, there's a avionics shop that's running out of there.
So if we were gonna do something there, Ray, why wouldn't we just use more of the 5 acre piece?
We could potentially do that.
Are you trying to save some of that for another business that would front the road, you know?
Yeah, so I
I've
was,
always pictured that there might be something there, but,
as well as but again, I was thinking of that non-aviation use, so is it a possibility for a restaurant or
no,
something to that
I get it,
effect?
yeah.
That's the only reason that I haven't looked at developing that area for aviation use is because it's not within the airport property, so it provides us more flexibility if some sort of other private entity. I don't know what I honestly don't know what that private entity is.
Right, no,
But I didn't want to necessarily expand into
I mean,
that area.
if we just pushed back into that, you could gain some distance and then go to a bigger building.
Correct,
Right there,
correct.
without too much trouble, but
You could, right.
it's all just for green.
It is
maintenance, so-
aeromechanical, my apologies, it is aeromechanical.
Yeah, we're trying to get them.
They must have changed the name because it wasn't aeromechanical.
Precision avionics.
Yes, that's it. That's what I
Looked at
remember.
aerial so many times, but I Googled it.
Yeah, so that's in between.
Between the D3W and the T hangars.
Yeah, so that's that.
You were trying to get them
Yeah, going right
at
there.
the measure.
Hey, Ray, we have about 25 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Because we got some.
I'll stop.
I just don't know how much more of a
Well,
presentation there is,
so
so.
if you want us to look at making these bigger and pushing them back into the land and just give you a picture of what that looks like.
Which ones are those? I'm sorry.
The
ones
ones
that
we're
are-
looking at right now to the north, but it would then you'd be encompassing part, more of that 5 acre parcel.
I guess at the least, we should just look at what the height restriction is. Like how far back we would need to be to get one of those larger hangars in there.
Well, that's super simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want, well.
If we just knew
it's
that,
a-
then that's an option.
Except in order to get,
What's the
A
teal
big
one?
one, a
What's the
120.
height restriction on the teal line? That's teal.
third,
32 feet.
yeah, no, we have the BRL line on there and what was it? 30.
Trent, what's the green line? Is it 19 feet?
The green is 32 feet, and then the blue here is 19 feet 6 inches. I'm not exactly sure what this one was.
So I don't think there's as much of a restriction as it seems there. The 40,000 square foot hangars, the peak height is 45 feet, 46.
Okay.
46, yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, grade may go up, but it can only go up. so
But you
much
also
because it's
need to
1%.
leave, if you're bringing in a longer aircraft, you need to leave that space in front of the hangar.
As
So
far as the,
for the apron.
Yeah, you're gonna have
So-
that setback regardless, but
Yeah,
We also looked at the Jet A tank. Trent, do you want to go down south?
Sure thing.
From my understanding, this was a previous location that Zach had worked with Ray on previously. That's how we came up with this location. One of the problems that we were running into though with it was it had been mentioned that, they didn't want, Jet A drop-offs to be on the apron. They wanted their own private access road to the back of it. Additionally, wetlands were also kind of a hindrance on this location as well. So we're still vetting it and working through alternatives.
yeah, so one of the reasons of looking, Trent, can you zoom out just the hair, just so I can show the current location? Thank you. So currently we have the Jet A in this location here in between the two. So the Jet A fuel tanks are here with a dispensing location here at the apron edge. And one of the problems right now is everyone is coming into the airport utilizing this access way, coming to the south, but then all of the aircraft always get into this space here as far as the main apron. So that it gets very congested, especially on weekends. So the thought process was by providing the Jet A further to the south, and this area of the apron is very underutilized, is to provide the ability for jet aircraft to be fueled and then parked in this area. Now, this area doesn't need to be cleaned up, but it does provide the ability of parking for that jet aircraft and getting it away from that congested area, because in that area, we also have general aviation aircraft that come off of the runway and then go to their fueling station, which is located right here. So again, this whole area gets very congested, so we just wanted to move that jet aircraft a little further to the south.
And that access road behind it is not in wetlands or anything there?
Oh, man.
Yes, that one.
Oh, it's all,
Okay.
So,
I
so
wish
the,
get permits from the culvert.
so the smaller, red that you see there with the access road coming off, behind the building.
Yeah.
Off on the access road. This would be your snow removal building. And that's under environmental review right now, so this whole project is under
Oh, okay.
environmental review right now. And then this building, scoot up just a snitch to the north. There you go, thank you. This would be a large bulk hangar for your FBO, your current FBO, with an access road coming through the gate. Back through there. This is all wetlands, all the treed area is wetlands. So again, that's under environmental review right now, trying to get you to development and minimize the environmental impacts.
Okay.
but one of the benefits of that access road provides us, going to our, snow removal building.
Yeah.
Is again, removing congestion off, vehicular congestion off of the apron, because right now, anyone going to that southerly hangar, vehicle wise, has to come out onto go inside the fenced area, down the apron, and actually park by that building. So by providing the road, one of the long-term thoughts were, does it provide us the ability of, providing parking for their staff along that edge of the roadway, and then they create a new entrance into the space, going through a fence line. And that way they don't have to actually enter onto the apron.
That's good.
Same thing with deliveries, like UPS
Yeah.
and parts and different things like that. So again, just trying to get some of that congestion out there maybe, but
The next alternative that we looked at for was for the eVTOL development. Trent, if you could just go up to the north. Yeah.
And then you can turn the yellow.
Yes.
The casting of the beacon.
that's what I first thought. I was like, I first thought it had something to do with the reason.
So your beacon is located in this area right now. That's that structure right there that Trent's pointing to. So if we were to do this project, which probably, I think your beacon was just installed in 2020.
Yeah.
So, either when eVTOL sort of really come to fruition, you relocate at that point, which would probably be on your dime, or you relocate at the point of useful life. We thought that this could be an opportunity or a prime location. So as we discussed, this eVTOL is supposed to start as cargo and then move to passengers. Seeing as you are really within reach of New York City, I could actually see how it could be used as moving passengers. So the yellow that you're asking for before, sir, this is the airspace for it, for an eVTOL. If we wanted to have simultaneous operations occurring at the airport, they would be flying their own airspace as opposed to the runway. They're flying parallel, so it's not really as much of an issue. It's an 8-on-1 airspace, so there would be some trees, especially right in that area, that needs to be cleared, and I think a couple of trees to the south, maybe some to the north, but again, not really significant environmental impacts here. Those two circles there, we would have to tie them, but those would be the stations of where the aircraft, the eVTOL aircraft would actually be parked. So passengers would be loading. The rectangle is where they would be flying in and out of. Some of them, eVTOL stands for electrical vertical takeoff and landing. Some of them, however, do operate under traditional, where they can take off, but they still taxi on wheels. So that's why we have the separate parking stands for them. We decided to put it here, and we could still add some additional information, like where do people get picked up? Where do they park? You know, that your parking lot's right there, but it's on the other side of the wetland. So it'd need a footbridge or something. Or we could build a complete facility, separate facility that would just for these folks, again, access coming off the community access road into this area. But that was the only area that we thought, unless you want to use the existing runway environment. And I don't know where we would put them if we use these.
And that was the issue. Once they land, where are we going to put them in addition to the GA aircraft, in addition to the jet aircraft? So that's why.
Do they have to follow all the other rules, same license as you have?
No. They're completely different licensing that has to take place and so forth. But there is a process for that. Yeah. And again, they're FAA. The industry is a little bit beyond infancy, but it's very early. So, as Maria said, a lot of this is still in the development stage.
Yeah,
And they're kind of catching up to the technology itself. So the technology is there,
yeah.
but it's just the regulations that are now trying to catch up to it. But we had thought that this makes, it's a big open area for us. Why tie up runway operation if we don't have to? And it provides us a location to be able to store the aircraft as well as passengers, specifically, or cargo, just gaining access off of the main access road that comes into the facility, and it's right there.
Because if it's commercial stuff, as we were first presented, they're gonna be tying to some kind of a trucking pickup,
Yeah, and this is a nice convenient location, quite honestly.
We
And
talked
this-
about tree clearing in order for this operation to have, does that extend on into, the golf course area as well too, or? is that
No,
all
because
alright?
it's an 8-on-1, so it's pretty,
Okay,
it climbs pretty
didn't know if
quickly.
that expanded on what we needed up there.
So, and I mean, you can see where the yellow goes. Can you zoom out just a little, Trent, so we can see? You can see it's actually on the other side of the road.
Okay, yeah.
But you haven't looked at the vertical impact of that as of yet, as far as
No.
potential for tree clearing.
No,
Again, at 8-on-1,
Yeah,
it's gonna be, I think it should be pretty well contained on our site.
Get one on the roof of this place that would avoid me from having to get through the 9H66.
Yeah, right.
You could come on down.
Yep.
That would solve your roof problem.
See if we can get it funded.
Okay, so de-icing. De-icing? And
Down here. Turn some things off.
thank you.
Yep.
So you will see that the de-icing was inside the critical area. However, the critical area has height on it and an aircraft in there for the temporary time it would be in there for the de-icing operation. If you were to store your de-icing equipment down in this area, it would need to be stored outside of the critical area though.
Okay.
Runway 3 being your primary runway ends is why we put it down closer here,
Mhm.
so you wouldn't have void times.
Right.
So, but this still, again, this still needs to be vetted a little further. We have not had an opportunity to talk with the engineers about, timings of sewer and all that good stuff. So,
That's available tomorrow.
So that was the only, alternative, unless you really wanted to put it all right at the free end where the other T fingers were shown. So. Off the cul-de-sac.
Right.
Go a little south to the cul-de-sac. I mean, you could put it in that area as
Is
well.
that product ever reclaimed and reconditioned, repurposed or reused?
You have to ship it off to a recycling plant for it to be done that way. You don't have the footprint to be able to build a facility like that.
What about the potential of where those smaller bulk hangers? The box hangers there.
You can certainly look at it. If you think that that's not chance of moving forward?
Well, the only reason is because in order to obtain access to that spot for bulk tankers, we would need to enter into an agreement with the property owner.
Right.
As far as getting an easement and so forth, I don't
All right.
know. I haven't started that discussion. I don't know how favorable that may or may not be. It's hard to say.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna want me to, exactly. If I drop the $70 in sewer that he pays, then maybe he.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'll let
In
you know.
arrears.
What's that? I understand.
So Trent, since I think you can kind of do this real time, if you were to take that footprint. of
Oh,
the
yeah.
The de-icing apron,
Oops.
can you just copy it and
Yeah, let me give it a run. Do.
of course, we would need to reconfigure it slightly because of the alignment, but
Sure. Now, its proximity off of the taxiway, is that for
you want.
wingspan clearances?
Yeah,
Okay. That's what I thought.
This is overall. Figure out how to rotate this thing.
well, that's okay, just move it.
Yeah, let's-
Yeah, that's
That-
all
that-
right.
that's
Just
good
gives you an
enough.
idea of the footprint.
All right, we would need to
Can you
realign
turn the
it.
wetlands back on again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then turn the critical area on. Minimize.
Well, you said that was within the, yeah. it could
Yeah,
be
but actually you're clear
Yeah.
now, so,
Better.
all
So
right,
I would say that that would probably be more
more conducive.
conducive, yeah.
Okay, so
Probably
Trent,
more
Trent, could
realistic.
you just mark that as preferred?
Yep.
And then.
Definitely.
we'll clean that. Thank you.
I think the last alternative is just the relocation of the rotating beacon, which we said previously mentioned. If the EV toll area comes to fruition, that rotating beacon will need to be relocated. Spot that we chose for relocation was in the northeast section of the airport. Right where that orange block is. If the beacon were to be relocated there, the trees surrounding it may need to be trimmed as well. That's still being vetted.
As well as access, electric access.
Sure.
But that relocation is all contingent on having the EV.
The EV toll, correct.
Yeah.
Do you know what the useful life of the beacon is? Do you know offhand?
I think it's 20.
Is it that long? I don't know if I've ever looked, I was thinking that's 10, but.
Okay.
Um,
It'd just be interesting from a planning stage as far as the timing, potential timing of each VTOL and us moving the beacon, whether it's on our dime or whether potentially it's on.
Yeah.
Right.
we'll get you an answer for that one. Were there any, so we just threw out the small box hangers in lieu of the de-icing apron to go in that area.
Yeah.
The box hangers up on the north, we said, let's move them further west to see what kind of height we can get, which will also open up more green space, items and all that good stuff. Thank you.
No problem.
Any comments on the T hangers that are being shown right now? Okay, any comments on the T hangers shown to the south?
No, actually, I like those to the south as well.
Okay, reconfigure
It did reconfigure them though.
the development, of the big bulk
Correct.
hangar development. Got it.
That's on the east side, yes, which is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trent, you got that covered, yeah.
Okay. So we skip the next one. So obviously it helped, but it didn't give us what I was kind of hoping we were gonna walk out of with. Okay, well, here it is, but that's okay. We will,
He's got a check.
we will reconfigure some of these and then, you know, we'll get back together with you, right? And show you some ideas, and if you want to, then with the.
Yeah, then we can meet just as the group, as far as the committee. And then walk through that process a little further.
And then,
If we had this updated that we could blow up and play with,
Yeah.
you know, just in a PDF or something, that'd be helpful for just us. You know,
no, absolutely. Then once we have all that, we'll be finalizing the environmental overview. Okay, then we move into the financial plan, and this is something that I would like to look at here. Is there a local share cap that we try to stick to on an annual basis? So what we do after we finish with all the alternatives, we then start putting together your 20-year airport capital improvement plan, which then Matt and Zach will use going forward as a reference point. But as I start putting it together, I try to make sure that the local share does not exceed what the county, you know, tries to keep your budget
Right, yeah.
within. So like, and I don't need an answer today, but you know, Ray, if you could get back to us.
Yes, so what I can do is I can get together with, I'll start with Jim Bragg, if that's okay.
Yep.
Supervisor, and I can at least discuss where we currently stand
I
and
was
what
gonna
our
say,
expenditures
You've
have
already
been.
laid that out for 5 years and a number of projects
Correct.
fall in there.
And I just want to check with both he and PJ whether they feel that that's sustainable or not.
Right.
And then adjust it accordingly. And then that way I'll bring it to Public Works, have a brief discussion and get back to you as far as that goes.
That's fine.
I don't want to over commit ourselves.
Yeah, no.
I know we've been very aggressive recently
Right.
as far as the airport activity because the funding's been
I think
there.
if you based it on where we've been and, you know, right now, and just stretched it out, you know, but
Yeah, I'll get together with them. I don't want to speak for them. I'd rather get their input.
I'm hoping that a lot of these projects are gonna generate revenue. and so-
Well, that's the intent.
You
Yeah,
know,
honestly, that is the intent, is so that way we better utilize the,
right.
you know,
For
the
different
asset,
reasons,
the
yeah,
asset that
right.
we have. And it is an asset.
Now, I will just let you know, and you already know this, but to remind you that economic development is going to need to get involved in helping you try to find some alternative sources of funding for the hangars, especially because
Yeah.
the FAA won't pay for that, revenue producing
No,
is not an FAA eligible item. State is a competition.
I think some of that's gonna be private money that, you know, once we have it.
That's part of why I brought up, should it stay in or go in the airport area, that southern hangar, or should it stay out?
But if you're just leasing land, I
Yeah,
think it's an advantage to be.
I think for the one on the east side of the airport, I tend to think putting that inside of the airport has advantages because of the size of the aprons and so forth. Because again, most of those leases, there are terms on those leases. And what tends to happen with that is, once that term is up, now it becomes, the maintenance of that becomes the responsibility of the county. How's that worked out for us?
Yeah, now we got hit with a boatload, so, and that's,
So again, from an asphalt standpoint, that, you know, maybe not the buildings themselves, but some of those other components, there's FAA money available for them to cover some of those. So I do believe that it makes sense for that area to be within the airport. Because again, we've already identified that's prime real estate, if you would, for aeronautical purposes. So now that PJ's here, we'll go ahead and have him sign the check.
That's right.
Yeah.
Here's the bill,
Poor
PJ.
PJ.
Yeah, moving on this right away.
We want to know how much money we can spend on the airport every year for the next 20 years, you know?
Hey, we're bringing in a lot of money right here.
That's right, we just made a lot of money.
Trust us.
We're talking revenue.
All the years.
Talking revenue, we are.
Yeah.
We've been focusing on revenue, potential for revenue.
What's that zoning, or is there any out on the 5-acre parcel on the west side?
I'd have to double check. I want to say that I think the entire area, no, I thought it was R3, if I remember correctly. I remember looking at it once before. If I remember correctly, everything outside of the airport is R3.
And that would stay out of their airport path.
Yeah, right
Yes,
now, because that I
So
could see
that was
some,
a
having some
restaurant.
commercial activity,
Correct.
you know.
Ramada. For these big planes to spend a night in the area.
That's just a nice piece of land, I think, as something available, but, and it should be related to the airport somehow, you know, not
We gotta
necessarily.
bring some money in.
There's money to be made. There's no question.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Boy, that put some color back in PG.
I can tell-
great.
He's holding both his heads, you see, and,
Yeah,
Just so we can get him.
Yeah, if there's no other official business,
all your questions answered? Did you get the check? All right,
Did you make the motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
It has to be you.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye.
Just want to give him a warning. Go ahead.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to call the finance committee meeting to order, and we're gonna get started with resolution number one. Authorization to fill one
Move it.
caseworker
Second.
position. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number two. Authorization to
Move it.
fill one
Second.
caseworker. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number three, fill one transportation aid position. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number four, authorization to fill one social welfare
Move
position.
it. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number five, authorization to fill one.
Move it.
Senior life welfare examiner. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number six, authorization for
Move
the
it.
Department of Human Services.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number seven, authorization for the Department of Human Services to modify the 2025 budget.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number eight, authorization for DHS to fill vacant grade 18C senior
Move it.
behavior. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number nine, authorization for the Health Department to fill one environmental health director due to resignation.
Move it.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
They got somebody that's gonna be an internal promotion,
Okay.
so somebody that was already there.
Carried it. They're just moving in. Resolution number 10, authorization to reappoint one member to the Columbia County Board of Health.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 11, authorization for the Department of Health to enter into a service agreement with iCentral.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 12, authorization for the Department of Health to increase the 2025 budget and transfer funds. New York State Education Department has posted the amounts. We have a motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 13, authorization of the Department of Health to contract with Access Therapy Preschool Agency to provide preschool services. to eligible children. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 14, authorization for OFA to review
Move it.
contract with various providers.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public safety. Resolution number 15, authorization of consent to a one-year extension of the fourth council at first appearance that ends December 31st, 2025.
Move it.
We have a motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Jimmy Reed more.
Carried.
Now we're on start.
Right.
Resolution number 16, authorization to amend resolution number 652025 to reclassify the vacant keyboard specialist position.
Move it.
We have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 17, authorization to fill one part-time clerk typist position.
Move it.
Grade 7A. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 18, authorization to fill one vacant keyboard specialist position.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 19, authorization for the sheriff's office to award the bid for police vehicle upfitting to Allen Tech Services LLC for 1 year. I didn't see the price, what the price was on it.
Was there on the resolution?
I didn't
No,
see it on the
it's not.
resolution.
Let's see, what number was that?
Number 19 is,
Yeah, it is there.
Oh, you got it though, what it was?
They reviewed it.
All right, I'm not, I just didn't see it on the thing, I was just wondering. I'm glad.
We'll find it.
Yeah, that's. Do we have a motion? Should we make a motion?
I'll move it.
Second. Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We'll move on to county government, resolution number 20. Authorization to accept the 2025 election grant from New York State Board of Elections. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 21. Authorization to accept the 2025 vote by mail
Move
grant. Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
If Ray were here, he'd be all over this.
I know.
Now, resolution number 22, authorization to approve a contract for a copy of lease. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 23, authorization for officials designated to approve New York State real property tax corrections of
Second.
less than 2,500. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 24, authorization for the Columbia County Veterans Service Agency to purchase an adult passenger transit van and
I'll
amended
move it.
2025.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 25, authorization to award contract for publication of the 2026 Columbia County Business Guide. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 26, authorization for the county clerk to fill one vacant index clerk position.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 27, authorization to extend the contract with Thompson Reuters for Westlaw Legal Research.
I'll move it.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We're gonna move on to Public Works, which is resolution number 28, authorization to fill two vacant budgeted positions of motor equipment operator.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 29, authorization to fill one vacant budget motor equipment operator two.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 30, authorizing the chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors.
I'll move it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 31. The resolution is requested authorizing chairman and the Commissioner of Public Works to execute all necessary project initiation documents and
I
agreements.
wasn't gonna read all.
I
of
know,
that.
I know.
Thank you. Sit back with your feet.
That's right, you know.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 32, authorization for
Move it.
facilities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Finance, resolution number 33, resolution approving the premium equivalent rates for the 2026 Columbia County Administrative Services Only Insurance Program.
I'll move it.
We have a motion,
Second.
motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
This is for both health and.
Okay, both. We have a motion, all in favor? Aye, I think we had a vote. Carried. Resolution number 34, authorization for voluntary collection agreement with Eval Vacation Rental Network, Inc. Has to do with the Airbnbs, right? Yeah, okay.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 35, authorization to approve a contract for a countywide cost allocation plan.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is there anyone who has anything else for Finance Committee? No, not. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Second. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Didn't do the mortgage.